Here we go, up the hill. Let's get on with the surprise. So here we are, halfway up the hill, and I've got into the sunshine, and I've got a yellow jacket around me. Some kind of native wasp type thing. And it is mystery day. I've got my sun hat on because it's absolutely hot here, and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. So let's get going and see what's happening up at the house. Loriann's kitchen, and we've got Loriann here, we've got Jane, and we've got another visitor. We've got Peggy from Sew House 7, who is sat here signing patterns. And later on, after we've had some lunch, we are just going to pop the camera on. We're just going to have a chat with Peggy and ask her how Sew House 7 started and the like, and we'll see how we go.
Job when I moved to Portland. Well, not my first. I worked at Nike for like 3 months. Oh. So it doesn't count. It was only like 3 months. But I worked at Jansen making swimwear. Oh yeah. And I hadn't really done swimwear patterns before, you know. And they right away they would do Lady Di's swimsuits.
As in Princess Diana.
Princess Diana. Yeah. We didn't get to actually meet her and fit on her. They had somebody else do the fitting, but they would just send back, you know, the measurements and things she wanted changed or whatever for the suits. She only wore Jansen suits, I guess. And right away they gave them to me, and I felt so honored. Like, I haven't been doing this very long. I don't want to do Lady Di's. Anyway, it was really easy. It wasn't hard, but like that, I was so stressed out. Yeah, pressure. But everybody else was so tired of doing it. It was like, get the new person. Lady Di suits. But yeah, I wanted to write my name and like say hi in the label, but I chickened out because they were really particular about how everything went.
They'd have spotted you up on that.
Oh, they would have.
Is that an office company as well?
Jansen?
Yeah. I thought it was.
Yeah, but now it's been bought out so many times, and now like I don't even know. When I quit, they were transitioning again, and I can't even remember who owns them now. I only know one person who works there now. She worked there for the longest time. She's great, but she mostly does Nikes. They do Nike stuff.
Yeah.
So
I guess they go through this transition. These companies and like Nike. I mean, there's a lot.
I didn't know they were in business. That's kind of a surprise. I just remember the swimsuit girl.
Yeah,
is that the Jansen?
Yeah.
And are they still doing it here?
They still. Well, I don't even know if they do the actual Jansen stuff here. I think the reason they're here is because of the Nike stuff, and I think that I heard that the Jansen stuff was being done in California, and it's like really small, or maybe the designers were there. I don't know what's happening, but it's sad because back in the 30s or 40s. Jansen and Coca-Cola were the top most recognized brand names of all companies. Really? Like, it was big. Like, Jansen was huge. And now it's just kind of like...
I know that. Yeah, no, I don't see as much of the garments and things around as much as I used to.
So did you do pattern cutting at college?
Yeah, I went back to school and learned, And I always felt like, I worked mostly at Jansen, and I always felt like it wasn't real pattern making because you don't use any of the pattern making rules when you're making swimwear. It's all just however you can get it to fit, and the stretchy fabric.
It's a bit over the model, isn't it?
Yeah, and then every fabric, like they were so particular. Like now I need to get over it and start making my own home. Everybody's making swimwear, but I've got this. I don't know. From working at Jansen, they were so particular about. Even if you had the same fabric and it came in, they would run it through testing, and if it was just a little bit off, the whole fit of the suit could be totally different. And so, especially one pieces, like the tank suits, everybody would fight over. I don't want it. You take it. I don't want it. No, pattern makers. Nobody wanted to do a tank suit, even though it was a carryover style, because whenever it's in a new fabric, you'd be like. Have to put a center seam in, move the shoulders in, keep fit like 12 times, and you have everybody breathing down your neck. When's this gonna be out? We need to get it out, and you just couldn't get them to fit. It was so hard. But I don't know, I need to just get over it.
Did you invent a new style?
That was the other thing I thought, it's not gonna be that exciting doing swimwear. It's just there's only so many things you can do. But we did some pretty crazy swimwear. For a short while we had this line, and they only did it for like a year, and didn't sell well, but I think businesses don't give things long enough, you know? But it was weird. It was nothing I would ever wear. It was kind of real tchotchke, weird stuff, but it was fun to make the patterns for, because they were just bizarre. It was supposed to be some rich woman that wanted, you know, crazy, bizarre, you know, swimwear. And
The thing
Yeah,
is,
they
a
were,
rich
yeah.
woman would probably wear the tatty thing back at Target.
Right.
She's rich.
Yeah, no, that's what who they decided their customer was going to be, was some, like, I think somebody who lived in, you know, Miami and South Beach or something.
We're in.
Now, are you?
Are you in? Are you two in?
Are we in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now then, I was just going to ask, because the one thing I always wanted to know, what made you transition from working with Jansen to being a pattern cutter to make these beautiful indie patterns that we can use today?
Well, I think it's something I always kind of wanted to do when I was a little kid. I used to just get the leftover pattern books, you know, the
Yeah.
Big Four pattern books when they've done
The
with
Big
them.
Four.
I would bring them
Yeah.
home and just daydream and think about, you know, I've been sewing since, you know, I was, I don't know, 7 or something. And, but I never thought it was something you could do for a living, you know. I grew up in Idaho, and I thought you had to be a designer meant to, like, live in New York or Paris and be like Oscar de la Renta or something. And so I didn't even go down that route. I was more like going to be a biologist or something, like my dad. And then when I finished school, I don't know, I just was so into sewing. My dad just kept saying, I think you should do something in clothing design. So anyway, I worked in the apparel industry for years and got very disillusioned. I think Jansen was great in the beginning because it was before everything was so cheap and sent away to other countries to be made. And you know, I think I got to really experience, you know, like our factory was right next door, and we would work with the factory. I had to write up the instructions on how to sew the swimwear, and so I'd work with factory workers if I couldn't figure out something. And we had a guy who would make special folders for things, for the machines, you know, to, you know, we could dream up whatever we wanted and make it happen. And I don't think that happens so much anymore. I think as I was leaving, they were kind of going towards having, instead of pattern makers, well, I think they still have pattern makers there now. I'm not sure, I don't keep in touch as much, but most places they have not so much a pattern maker, but somebody comes and just gives specs, and then they send them overseas, and they make the patterns, and they send them back, and you go back and forth with fitting. And that wasn't why I was disillusioned. I was disillusioned more like we were working, I did a Tommy Hilfiger, we did a Tommy Hilfiger license. And I don't know who all's going to see this, maybe this is bad, but I really hated working with the people. They were so demanding.
I don't think I'm big enough. If you show it on your channel, I don't know what you might get on yours, but
They were just horrible to work with. I just felt like, you know, it's just clothing, and I don't need to be treated like this. People don't, it wasn't just me. I don't want to watch people be treated like this, and I was just done. Like, I'm going to do something else. I'm sick of this apparel industry, and got out. But and then I kind of got sucked back in at Pendleton. I was doing freelancing.
Pendleton, what's Pendleton?
The Woolen Mills.
Yeah. Oh yes, you were telling me about that, weren't you?
And I had a friend who worked at Jansen, and she ended up at Pendleton. And I wanted to get out of the apparel industry. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but because I did actually a layoff, a voluntary layoff. They were laying people off because of NAFTA, and they were going to have to start laying people off. And I thought, this is my opportunity. I want to be done with this anyway. Now I get like a severance and a package, and you know. So I volunteered to leave and was going to go. They were going to pay for you to be re-educated in something that we needed jobs in. At that time, there was a nursing shortage. So I thought about becoming a nurse, and I started going back and retaking some of the classes because it had been such a long time ago, some of my anatomy and physiology and stuff. And in the meantime, and I was doing some freelancing for different small companies around pattern making. And then my friend Amy, who worked at Pendleton, got a hold of me and wanted to know if I could just help out. And I did, and then I just kind of sucked back in a little bit to the whole thing. And then I got pregnant, so that I stayed. And so then I was another 9 years in the apparel industry, which it wasn't as bad though, because that was more, I was doing more artwork. I wasn't dealing with the fitting and stuff. I wasn't pattern making there. I was doing intarsia pattern design and a little bit of textile design and things like that. But it's a family run business, and it's been around a long time, and their wool fabrics are made here. The clothing's not made here, but the fabrics are. I don't know, there's just a little more history, and it's a little more interesting. But yet I was still in the apparel industry, and I still really wanted to get out, and I kind of still felt like the people doing the hard work weren't appreciated and paid well, and it was always so many companies are like that. It's the managers and everybody that make the money, and I just was barely making ends meet, and I just kind of wanted out again, and I thought, what else can I do? And for years I'd been thinking about starting my own pattern line. This was before Instagram or anything. And I never followed blogs. I don't even know if blogs were a thing then, but I got this book on how to start your own pattern business, but it was written by somebody who did quilting, and she gave a few tips. I can't remember the name of the book, but in the end it kind of was disturbing because she said she ended up having to sell her business because she never made that much money. So I thought, well, maybe you can't do it. But then years later, I saw a seam work, it was Colette patterns. I was on my lunch break, and I saw they were selling them at Powell's bookstore. I thought, somebody's doing what I wanted to do, like it can be done.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm just going to do it. And I did it for 2 years while I was still working there, and it was just too much, like so much work. And I had to wait till my son was a little older too. When he was young, it was just too much to take on. So I waited till he was about 6 years old, and then started, and then I decided I was going to do 3 patterns and have them all printed so that if I went to shops, I had at least a small line. So I did that, and a friend of mine, who actually was my massage therapist, we became friends, and she was getting into sewing, and she's the one that's like, you've got to read this blog. She told me about Heather from Closet Core, which before she had her pattern line, but she had the bombshell swimsuit. I read her blog for a little bit, and then she told me about Instagram, and I was like, this is all going on out there. I was just going to put my stuff out there and not even know how to do it, and then here's this community asking for it. But I was lucky in that I started when there weren't a lot of people doing it. So I don't know, I think I would have a harder time if I were starting now.
So what was the first pattern?
The first 3 patterns all came out at once. I had the Bridgetown backless, the Mississippi Avenue dress, and the Alberta Street pencil skirt.
And can you still get those?
You can get them as PDFs, but I've priced them lower because they're not layered patterns. They're not size inclusive. I thought I was being size inclusive actually at the time. So my massage therapist was like a size 20, and she didn't even look like she needed to be in a large size. And I thought patterns were only going up to size 16 or 18, so I made mine go to 20, thinking, well, at least I'll. And I had intentions of doing a larger size, but I didn't start out that way because I knew that it was going to need to be a whole different fit. That you can't just, grade way up. And so just getting those 3 patterns out was a lot of work in the beginning. So I started with those 3, and then, But anyway, those are the 3 I started with. And now, you can still, you can't get them all in printed patterns. I'm running out, but you can get them as PDFs, but they aren't layered patterns. Yeah.
So which pattern out of all of them do you think launched you more?
In the beginning, the Mississippi did.
Yeah.
And that also, I wasn't making anywhere near a living. In fact, I probably was making between $20 and $100 a month. Maybe 1 or 2 sales a month. And I was hardly making any money. And Simplicity contacted me. And I thought it was a scam or something at first. I thought, how would they find me? There's no way they want me. And no, they wanted to license my pattern. And I was so torn. I didn't know whether to do that or not because I was so new to the indie pattern world. I didn't know, was it a bad thing to be in Simplicity? Would my few indie followers, not want to follow me anymore because it was going to be, I didn't know what to do. And then, so Heather from Closet Case Patterns, she was coming to town. I can't remember why I knew she was coming to town or how I
She does
contacted
courses,
her.
and she does travel and do courses because she does come.
She does. But this was before she did that.
Oh,
She
okay.
hadn't started her pattern line yet.
Okay.
But she was coming to Portland for something, and somehow I knew that, and we hooked up. We got together and had lunch. No, I didn't know about pattern review then. But we got together. We met for lunch, and I told her about that, and she was like, "Are you crazy? Do it." So I thought, well, if she's saying it's okay, then I'll do it. You know. So I did that, and yeah. But they wanted me for the Mississippi. That was sort of my big pattern at the time.
And you're not still tied with them?
Well, I think they do still sell the Mississippi, but because once it's in there, it's just in there. But then I did a few other patterns for them as well, but it got to be just too much work. Like I do the base size, and they do write the instructions, and they grade it, so it's a little different than mine. They grade it a little different, but they kept wanting more and more, and I was like, I make more money if I just do my own patterns. I had enough of a following then, and it was just too time consuming, so I kind of was like, okay, I can't do it anymore. But the Mississippi, I think, still does sell for them.
definitely.
And the
that's
toaster
a-
sweater.
Yeah.
Oh, the toasters.
No, that was different though. They wanted the toaster sweater, and I said, I'm not going to do the same pattern anymore. So when I did the Mississippi, they said, it'll be fine. We're different customers. Nobody will know. And then afterwards, I was like, no, that was too confusing. I don't want to do the same pattern that I have that's in my line. I'm not going to do that again. And they really wanted the toaster sweaters. And I said, well, I'll do something similar. And I didn't know they were going to call them the toaster sweaters. And that was confusing for people because they were like, I thought the toaster sweater was a little bit different. Or they're asking, what's the difference? So anyway, but not to, simplicity has been great to me. I'm not trying to rag on them, but but it was interesting, and I'm not as involved as people might think. I just kind of send them the style and they do whatever, so I didn't realize they were going to call it the toaster sweater. But so that was confusing.
So we are both wearing, how do we say it? Is it the Solve?
Sophie.
Sobe Island is a place right outside of Portland.
Yeah, so the patterns are named after places near Portland. So there's a Burnside, isn't there?
Yeah.
What about the toaster?
That's one that isn't. They have a couple things like the Cosmos isn't a place, and then
Remy? Where's Remy?
And the Remy's not.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Remy's not. But I think I just couldn't think of something at the time. As, yeah.
So
But
this is the latest pattern, which is great to wear and so comfortable and so flattering. What's next?
It's so hard because I'm working on a whole lot of things at once, and it takes me so long to get a pattern out because even though I have an employee now, she's just part-time and she's focusing more on the social media stuff.
Yeah.
So I just still feel like I'm just doing so many things that it's hard to find time to really do the pattern work.
But you're still you're in control of your business, and you're in control of how fast it goes.
Well, it just, so I have a couple patterns that were supposed to be out like 4 years ago that still haven't come out. They went through pattern testing, but I had a few little tweaks to do and just never, I have so many patterns like that, and so I'm kind of coming back around to a lot of them, and then I have a few new things. So I don't know sometimes it'll just be what is ready to go, or something else is ready to go, but I really am liking working on this now, and I'm going to put that in front. So I don't know what's absolutely next,
nice.
but I've got 2 tops and a couple pairs of pants and a dress. I don't know, and a t-shirt.
A swimsuit?
No, I do want to do a swimsuit. I don't know.
All the pattern houses seem to be doing
I know they do. I know.
Seems to be loads
I
this year.
feel a little bit of pressure doing a swimsuit because I did swimwear for so long, and it's so different. And like I said, I need to get over it. But I think I'm so used to having all the special machinery for swimwear,
as you were saying,
special elastics and folders, and I haven't made a really amazing swimsuit on my home machine yet, and but I haven't made a lot of them. So I need to really sit down and practice because I feel like I should know what I'm doing, and I don't. I feel like I need all the fancy machines.
I love the thing you said earlier about your aesthetic being you want to be able to get everybody to make what you've got
Right.
on their
Yeah,
on their
I don't
machine,
want you to have
no
to
matter
buy a
how
fancy machine in order to do
or an
it.
overlocker or a cover stitcher, which
Yeah.
I think is fantastic. And I want to ask your favourite fabric to bake with, to use.
Well, lately linen.
Yeah.
I think I've just been on a major linen kick, which I think the next few patterns I do are gonna not use linen, or maybe you can use linen, but you can use other things too.
I always need to
Yeah.
kind of make sure I have enough room, like full bust area, because
Yeah.
that's kind of. Then
But this looks good, and this is
Yeah, no, I do.
one.
Jane,
This is
Jane
actually,
is wearing. You can't quite see Jane. Let me just spin this round.
I think this
Because
was
Jane
probably in
is
a 14.
wearing.
This was probably in a 10, I think. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like I think I really did a 12 and it was a little big, so I sized down because I realised it would have been a boxy fit. But I
Well,
feel
it's
like
supposed to
still
be
have
So
the
Remy,
box.
isn't
obviously
it?
like hang off your
Yes,
arm, but if you
yes.
don't want that, then the
Yeah.
curvy is
So,
more fitted
so
there.
I guess I can experiment, but yeah.
I think it looks lovely. I think it
Yeah.
looks lovely. And
No, this is a comfortable fit for me. I wouldn't want it any tighter, but I wouldn't want it too oversized as well. So.
No, I like the looseness of this.
Yeah.
And I'd actually, when I'd gone to Bugweeds with you, when Loriann came over to see us, we took her to Bugweeds, which is one of my local fabric stores, and Rebecca had this lovely Essex linen, and I've never seen it anywhere in any other shop. Oh gosh, it's beautiful to sew with, and this is the colour I dyed up, and I thought, oh, now I've got an excuse, I'm going to make
It's a
it.
nice colour, that.
But you've used the berry
This
Tana Lawn, which is the
Yeah.
bluey green version of the fabric I bought you.
That's right. She did,
Oh.
pink, it's awesome.
Oh, I saw the pink. Yeah, because
We actually found it
Because I think
in,
when we were, I think I
John's.
was saying, yeah, because when we were in John's and we met, I think I remember saying that pink was one of my favourite ones, the little berries.
and I brought her.
Have you been to Josephine's Dry Goods?
Oh yes,
They
I
have
Yeah.
the
I have.
biggest selection of.
Yeah.
She's a Liberty freak. She's
Is
got
that in Portland?
every.
Yes.
she's got
Are we
so
going?
many-
Oh, I
Yes.
think I missed
Oh,
that.
we are
Fabric.
going apparently. We are going.
Yeah,
I wanted to
Friday
be the
the
night, but
19th.
I didn't really know. I guess I missed the Liberties because.
They're in the front. She
Oh.
loves Liberty fabric. Benny, the new
Oh,
owner.
I remember.
I shouldn't say new owner. She's owned it a while now, but it.
Okay.
So Josephine's has been here in Portland. I don't know how many years. And when I moved to Portland in the late 90s, it was downtown, and then she ended up retiring. And Benny was a design student downtown, and she would go there, and Benny's the new owner. She would shop there, and when she found out that they were closing, she was like, oh no. So she figured out a way to buy it, and now it's moved up to the east side.
Yeah.
But she loves Liberty fabrics, and so she's got the largest selection of Liberties. I haven't seen what Joann's has though, so I don't know, but she has a lot of Liberty
Have you been to
fabrics.
Liberties?
Yes.
I'm sure it doesn't have as much as the Liberty shop.
been to Liberties?
No, I haven't. I haven't been to
I've
England
never
since
been to
1984.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I need to get back there.
Yes.
You do. You
It's
do
a little
need to
mind
get-
blowing. I had needed it and I don't. Okay.
I think the world can see. We have quilt. Oh, we have quilt, look. Oh yeah, we have quilt. We are coming together.
Pieces.
We have pieces. So,
We have strips.
right, we have strips. Right, we have been working and beavering away, but I think, Loriann, we will draw today's to a close. I do hope you enjoyed our little chat with Peggy this afternoon. She is the most lovely lady, and you were saying she was desperate to get up here to see us all. And I don't think it was just to see the fact that I'd come over from the UK. I think she'd been wanting to come and see you, hadn't she, for a long time up in the house in your sewing space.
She had talked about coming over here a long time ago, but she just never made it.
So, and then Jane came as well, and Jane will pop up again in the next few days as well, because we're seeing Jane at least another couple of times before I go home. Now tomorrow we're going off to the coast, which will be the next. This vlog I'm going to put up straight away when I've done it, and then the next 2 days will be when I get back from the coast. I'm going down to see Loriann's dad, who lives in, is it Depot Bay?
He lives in Lincoln City, very close to Depot Bay, which is the world's smallest harbor. And hopefully we will get to see some whales.
Oh, I'm
And
so
she will touch her little toe into the Pacific Ocean.
I'll
We'll
get
have a
up
great
to my
time.
knees in the Pacific Ocean, folks. It won't just be my toe. If I'm going to put myself in the Pacific Ocean, I am getting in the Pacific Ocean. I'm not going swimming.
No.
I have to tell you all this though. Did I ever tell you about Ingeborg? When I went swimming, came off, it was a really hot day, off the aeroplane, and she said, let's go to the fjord. So we went down to this beach on the Oslo fjord, and nobody else was getting in the water. So off I go, swimming costume on, and I paddle out, and I'm in there, and I'm just thinking, God, this is glorious. It was so hot. And Ingeborg was on the shore, just howling with laughter, yabbering away to somebody else in Norwegian. But I certainly got out what she was talking about. She was saying, don't worry about her, she's English. And I said, oh, you, I can understand exactly what you're saying to me from over there. My Norwegian, I don't speak it, but I've been there so many times, I've got a little bit of an understanding of what's happening. Before I go and say goodnight today, I want to say a huge thank you to Sue Wood, and just to say thank you ever so much for the coffee, and I will enjoy drinking it. That was extremely kind. Thank you so very much. I'm very, very touched. So for now, I'm going to say good night and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye!